I don't know why somebody with a doctorate degree would make 37,000. I'm just saying, it's hard for me to believe that's the type of income that Dr. James C. Hyatt can make. Your Honor, my client, Rachel Ellison, had just emailed us saying she just had an emergency come up and will log on as soon as possible.
This is Ellis County case 18 DM 247. It's the matter of Rachel Hyatt versus James Hyatt. May I have an announcement of appearances, please?
Your Honor, Jerry Driscoll appearing on behalf of the petitioner, Rachel Ellison, formerly known as Rachel Hyatt.
May it please the court, James Hyatt appears via Zoom and by through his attorney, Greg Schwartz, also via Zoom.
Mr. Driscoll, are you able to proceed on your motion without your client?
No, because basically my testimony is going to be the testimony I'm going to present is her testimony on it, Your Honor. I set out her objections that the proposed journal entry does not accurately reflect the respondent's income and the MFA eligibility and eligibility of parenting time adjustment. So without her being able to present testimony to that, that's where I'm at, Judge.
Mr. Schwartz.
Well, I mean, we'll wait. I've got a 3 o'clock. I was hoping this would be done quickly, so I didn't have to wait until then. I've got to be over at the Hayes PD at 3 o'clock.
The court had made an order back in January of 2024 in which the child support would be handled by the trustee by agreement of the parties in their mediated parenting agreement. When we had the hearing in September, on September 9th, Ms. Grabby was present. She participated. The court made various findings, and Mr. Schwartz was to do the worksheets accordingly and prepare the order. My question, Mr. Driscoll, is do we need Ms. Grabby for this hearing?
We probably do, Judge. And looking at the pleadings, it looks like she was copied on the objection and the notice, but she wasn't copied on the notice of hearing. So I can see if she's available.
Why don't you give her a call and see if she's available while we wait for Ms. Ellison? Are you currently in the state of Kansas?
Yes.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Go ahead, Mr. Driscoll.
Rachel, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. You recall that we had a hearing in September and there was a journal entry prepared in connection with that hearing that was sent to us via Rule 170. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you had requested that you had some objections to that journal entry, did you not?
Yes.
And you requested that I file an objection to the to the order that was submitted pursuant to Rule 170, correct?
Yes.
And I'll need to have you indicate to the court the objections you have to that particular order. In that objection, we stated that respondent's proposed journal entry does not accurately reflect the respondent's income, MFA eligibility, and eligibility of parenting time adjustment. You recall receiving that objection that we filed on your behalf?
Yes.
I need to have you indicate to the court the purposes of this objection and why you feel that the journal entry does not accurately reflect that hearing that was held in September.
Well, first of all, the MFA eligibility, it was under my impression that he has 50-50 custody with his first wife. And so he only has the other children 50% of the time. He also, I don't remember the name for it, the parenting time adjustment, according to the state guidelines, says it needs to be at least 35%. And even with the holidays he pushed for, he has Anna less than 35% of the time. And let's see, the income, it's been the same thing year after year. We always get partial information on income. Like here's his tax return showing that he has 3 different jobs, but let's only give pay stubs on some of these jobs. And like, I don't know how many times he's switching jobs or if he's currently employed by all three, but it's always seems like it's just partial information. I also believe he might own a rental house because he lives at one address, he says, and he has another address in his name. When I pick up my daughter, his vehicles are all registered at the Rush County address, but I pick her up from the Ellis County address, and that the Rush County address is occupied. So I assume he's got rental income because if he only works part-time, I don't know how he would obtain a mortgage without it being rented out. It seems like something's missing.
And does that summarize your objections to the journal entry?
I believe so.
Yeah. You received your W-2 and sent it to me. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yeah,
For 2024.
yeah.
And I've sent that to Mr. Schwartz's office, so he should have that. Greg says that he sent or is in the process gonna send Mr. Hyatt's 2024 information. When we get that, that'd be forwarded on to you also. Do you have any other objections you want the court to be made aware of pursuant to this objection to the journal entry?
Not that I can think of at this time.
Okay. That's Mr. Schwartz. Do you want to inquire, or that's all the object? That's
That's the end of your questions, Mr. Driscoll.
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Schwartz, do you have cross?
Well, I guess, I mean, my understanding, Judge, on how these should work is it's a legal argument as to whether or not this is what you ordered. And if it is, we're done. If it's not, then the court probably needs to clarify what it did order. And I mean, I think the issue about his income is just arguing again what was argued at the hearing in September. I don't think she was happy with his income at that time, and that's where we're at. The multifamily adjustment, while she's right, he used to have shared custody. He doesn't anymore. He has residential custody, so that applies. And on the parenting time adjustment, I believe that's for summer months, not for the 35%. So I'd have to look at that. I'm not sure where she's at on that, but
You have no questions for her?
let me double check, but I don't think so, Judge. No, I don't have any questions.
Ms. Grabby, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
Okay,
Are we gonna have the opportunity to make do you want me to make a statement now or?
well, Mr. Driscoll, the purpose of the objection is to show that the journal entry does not reflect the court findings. Do you have any evidence regarding the court findings?
I don't have a transcript or anything to show what the court's findings were at that time. It's supposed to accurately reflect the respondent's income, which we disagree with, and the other, the multifamily eligibility and eligibility of parenting time adjustment either was not addressed and I don't have a transcript of those proceedings, so it's hard for me to say one way or the other, Judge. And my memory is not that good to go back to September, so I can tell you that.
Good. Then as far as whether or not the journal entry reflects the court's findings, do you have argument, Mr. Driscoll?
The only argument we have, Your Honor, is the argument that my client has regarding what her feelings were pertaining to Mr. Hyatt's income, and was not accurately portrayed or presented to the court, as well as the other two items that were raised by her testimony.
Mr. Schwartz?
Your Honor, I think I've already addressed on the multifamily. There's a court file. I can give the court the case number on it, but it's It's the court could take judicial notice of it. It's a Rush County case, but he has residential custody of the children in that case. He didn't previously, but he does now. As far as the parenting time adjustment, the mediated parenting plan that the court addressed said that for summer break for 2023, it set out specific dates, but then goes on to say that after that, the party shall have alternating weekly parenting time. And under the guidelines, if you have 50% or more of the time or a shared arrangement in any 30-day period, you're entitled to 50% reduction for that month. And that's what that adjustment is for. So I think that applies. And then on the income, these are the same arguments we had at the hearing, and the court made its ruling.
Ms. Grabby.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I believe the issue we're here on today is whether or not the orders reflect what you ordered at the hearing. And when I review my notes, I do believe, as Greg says, that the orders do reflect what you ordered at the hearing for income. When I reviewed this for the MFA and the parenting time, I find the same thing that Greg found. So I feel like the orders that were submitted via the Rule 170 are reflective of what you ordered at the time. And that's our position. I don't see anything else that's different.
Ms. Ellison, did you have a question?
I'm just wondering, if there's a way that I am able to see this Rush County case that shows that he now has primary custody of these children, because last I was given any information, he was pending aggravated child endangerment with one of those children. And I just really, it's just hard to believe, kind of like the income thing.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, Ms. Ellison may disagree with the findings the court made back on September 9th. My notes reflect that the court found his income to be the $37,059. That the parties were to use the multifamily calculator on the child support. He was not getting credit for parenting time adjustment. And the parties were to exchange their 2023 income and 2024 income
We have yet to
When-
receive that.
when they have that completed. Okay. So the journal entry appears to reflect that. There are 3 attached worksheets to that journal entry. That appeared to reflect that. Do you see anything wrong with the proposed child support worksheets, Mr. Driscoll?
Other than the incomes, Your Honor.
Ms. Grabby?
No, Your Honor, I think they reflect what you ordered.
And Mr. Schwartz?
I did see one issue, Judge. The heading, it's under District Court of Ellis County, Kansas. The first 2 correctly reflect the date range. The third one, it didn't get changed from the second one and still shows January 1 through May, but I think the order correctly reflects it starts June 1st of 24 and goes forward. But I can submit an updated one that has the June 1, 2024 to present if need be.
You had filed 3 worksheets with your proposed order. That was back on
February 6th, I believe. Oh, I'm sorry, that was on January 23rd.
Are there any difference between those worksheets and the ones that you have submitted in February?
No, I don't know what the difference, I don't think so, Judge. Let me double check though, I can tell you. The final one, I know that from June forward at 246, there's no change. The 2023 is the same. And the 2024 is the same, the January to May 2024, the amounts are the same. I don't know why they were filed separately.
Okay. And looking at the worksheet, it uses the multifamily application. You see no adjustment for parenting time. We did not address the income tax consideration, but I don't think that was an issue at the last hearing.
Well, I think she claims a child every year. I think we did address that, Judge, or she has historically, and there's been an order that he gets the credit for that because she claims a child every year.
Okay. It's just not reflected in my notes. So I'm not questioning that if that was the situation. I don't see that we specifically addressed it, or at least I didn't make any note of it. But if that's the situation, that's the situation. So the worksheets appear to be in compliance with the court's rulings of September 9th, as is the journal entry itself. So the court will file the journal entry and the child support worksheets.
We would request, Craig, if you would send us Mr. Hyatt's 2024 income information. And if you'd also send me that case in Rush County so we could verify that.
You should be able to get it on that portal. All those records, as an attorney, you should be able to get all the domestic records. If you can't, we
You
can.
might give us a case number and I'd be much.
Oh, I can, yeah, I can give you a case.
I think he's looking for the case number.
Yeah, not a problem.
Anything further than today, Mr. Driscoll?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Schwartz?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Grabby? You're muted, Ms. Grabby.
That's a no, sorry.
Okay. So go ahead and submit those to the portal, or to the queue, Mr. Schwartz, so I can sign off.
Okay.
May I
Okay.
ask one more question?
You
What
may.
question do you have, Miss Ellison?
Greg Schwartz mentioned something about 50% of the summertime, but I'm looking at the parenting guidelines on the kansascourts.gov website, and I don't see anything about that. It just says 35% or higher. So I'm just wondering where that calculation or where that statute is, because I would like to read it and verify it.
Well, I don't see where any of the worksheets granted a parenting time adjustment.
He had it on at least one of them.
It's not, Judge. I looked at all three of them. It's not on there.
I'm looking at them.
Maybe they changed.
I don't see it used on any of the three worksheets. The only adjustment I see is for the income tax consideration.
So he's now claiming her on taxes every other year?
No, he's taking the deduction because you're claiming her every year.
Okay,
So he gets a corresponding deduction on his worksheet. Okay,
does rental income count as income?
well, ma'am, you'll need to speak to Mr. Driscoll about that. I made a finding regarding income. You may disagree with it, but his journal entry and his worksheets reflect the finding I made. Talk to Mr. Driscoll. You're getting his 2024 income. You may be filing a motion to modify.
I believe we should have
The-
received that within 30
the-
days.
The order and the worksheets reflect what the court ruled back on September 9th, and that's the issue today. Mr. Schwartz, if you'll do a journal entry to that effect.
You just want the final journal entry, or do you need a separate one from today?
I need a separate one, just saying the court heard the objections of the petitioner. The court denied the objections, and the journal entry of September 9th was filed as submitted.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you all. When we last got together on August 13th, the petitioner wanted to secure counsel. That has been done. Parties were working on exchanging information regarding the child support. Where are we at on that?
Your Honor, we've provided all the documentation to Ms. Grabby and Mr. Schwartz that we had on it. My client's income information is pretty static in that she has a salaried position. The amount that's reflected in that, we sent them copies of the contract. I don't, 65,000 something.
Mr. Schwartz.
Your Honor, we had sent out some proposed settlement. I don't know where that stands. So I think I don't know where that leaves us. If we just need to put on evidence or.
Ms. Grabby.
Your Honor, I reviewed the proposed worksheets from Greg, and I sent the parties an email today. There were a few differences in the worksheets that I had proposed and the worksheets Greg had proposed, but mainly after I looked at the petitioner's updated income, I think the only difference is really maintenance and maybe the date of the multifamily application. I don't really know that, but that's the only thing that I saw that would be different from what Greg has proposed, from what I proposed previously. But again, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if Jerry and his client have reviewed those and are in agreement with those or not in agreement. Obviously, we would not stand in the way of the parties if they came to an agreement on that, but that's where we're at with it.
Your Honor, I think one of the biggest, my client's income hasn't changed, so that's been pretty static. There will be a change. She carries the health and medical insurance. There will be a change as of October 1 with the insurance that she provides. So I think it's, I don't know where that piece of paper is with that information on it, but I have it someplace.
Have you reviewed the proposed worksheets by Mr. Schwartz and Ms. Grabby?
We have. We went over the documentation with Miss Ellison on it. I said, I don't know about the maintenance payments on there. I'm not familiar with what those are and why they're included in there. We're dealing with the multifamily adjustment, I think is accurate since Mr. Hyatt has additional children. I guess the only thing I question is Mr. Hyatt's income at 37,000. If he's, I don't know what kind of job he has, but it must not, I don't know why somebody with a doctorate degree would make 37,000. That's about the biggest question I have.
You're disputing the income.
I'm just saying, it's hard for me to believe that that's the type of income that Dr. James C. Hyatt can make. I think he's either underemployed or something. I just find that hard to believe. Obviously, I haven't been in this case as long as probably the rest of you, so I don't don't have all the information, but certainly it's going to be something that's going to be looked into in the future.
So can I just ask the question? It sounds like with regard to everything else Greg has proposed, other than the maintenance and potentially respondent's income, is that the only two issues we have now?
The maintenance is an error, so that shouldn't be in there. So I think everybody agrees with that,
Agrees to what?
that there should be no maintenance adjustment in there. I don't know how that got in there personally.
Okay.
So there is no maintenance adjustment. So the issues are the multifamily discount and the income.
No, I don't think the multifamily discount's an issue, Your Honor.
I don't think it's an issue either. I think Mr. Hyatt had other children, and I think they reside with him. It's my understanding from prior order of the courts.
That's correct. Yeah, that's out of Rush County.
Right. My client's income is based on the contract that we submitted to everybody, so.
And his income is as per his 2023 W-2s. He teaches online courses, and they're based on how many people sign up for the class. And, you know, if there's more, he can make more, but if there's not, he doesn't. And I think the last time we talked after the last hearing, there was some uncertainty as to whether or not those numbers were going to hold, or they might actually drop some. But
it just appears to me that he's underemployed for having the education that he purportedly has. And I don't know whether that's intentional or unintentional. But I don't know if that can be resolved at this hearing anyway.
Is there any discovery you need before an evidentiary hearing?
I don't think so. We sent, like I said, the only thing I want the court to be made aware of is the fact that the medical insurance is going to be changing October 1. And I'm not sure how far some of these, the modification of child support, how far it goes back on it. Are you familiar with that, Julie?
Let me unmute here. Yeah, so we filed that mod in December of 2022. So it would be January of 2023 would be the first worksheet. Then the second worksheet went through 2023 until the child stopped going to daycare. And I think Greg fixed that date, effective date, with his second letter. And so the other one would be going forward from June 1, I believe, when Anna's daycare is removed. So there might be, I guess, another number if the health insurance number is going to change in October. But I think that's fairly easy to do. I think all we'd have to do is have Greg remove the maintenance that's included on the worksheet, right? And then potentially have a hearing on the income and the medical insurance. And then I think we're good to go.
I think so.
are we needing a hearing, or is that what we're doing? Because I know if we are, the contract you sent was her 23-24, which would have ended in June. And so she'd
Contract.
be under a new contract from July 1 forward. So if we are going to go forward, we probably need to get that income as well.
I think we already sent that to you, and I may be.
The email I'm looking at, or the one I got in June, was that. I don't see, maybe this one. No, that's the most current I have is from June 5th. But if there's something else, I don't.
Rachel, do you know if you sent me that your current contract?
That is my current contract. My employer will make up new contracts around the end of the fiscal year, around December. And what they do is they will put out a new, I received that one last December, and they will backdate any raise I might receive based on whether they have any profits and how they decide to divide that up among employees.
So
But I have no other contract, and I won't until at least December.
and the health and medical insurance you have provided to me, and I submitted that to everybody, I believe.
So is there any additional discovery you need, Mr. Driscoll, before we have
I don't-
our hearing on income?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Mr. Schwartz, is there any additional discovery you need before we do the hearing on income?
No, I mean, I guess, do we need a hearing is the question, or do we agree on the amounts? I mean, that's what, I mean, I understand Mr. Driscoll says he thinks he can have more, but is that something he's requesting a hearing on, or just?
Requesting more what?
Are you requesting a hearing for the court to determine whether or not he is underemployed, i.e.
I'm not requesting a hearing at this time, but because I don't have sufficient background on him. But I'm just telling everybody that that's something that will be brought up probably in the future with somebody who has his type of credentials of making $37,000 a year.
Okay, well, are you wanting then an evidentiary hearing or are you accepting the figures they put forward?
I'm accepting the figures that we've provided to the court as far as my client's income. I don't have anything else to rely on regarding the respondent's income.
You want a hearing on the income of the respondent?
I don't necessarily need one. I'm just saying that it it has the appearances that it's very low. And the hearing that I would probably make would be, around the, end of December, first part of January, when after the income tax information comes forward. Concern that I have is I don't have, if we have to have a hearing, I guess I'd like to have a hearing regarding if Mr. Hyatt testifies under oath that this is the income that he has currently, that would be sufficient for me at this time. And I'd need to have Mr. Hyatt put his hand up, take an oath, and swear that that's the income that he has at this time.
Right. Ms. Gravy,
I mean, it sounds like if that's all we need, I think we can do that at this hearing probably in 5 minutes and get it done and adopt Greg's worksheets with the order that he take out the maintenance. And then if Mr. Driscoll wants to file something come December when there's a change, go from there.
Dr. Hyatt, you'll need to unmute. If you raise your right hand, please.
I can raise my right one, not my left one.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear and or affirm that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, subject to the penalties for perjury in the state of Kansas?
I do.
Are you currently in the state of Kansas?
I am.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Go ahead, Mr. Schwartz.
So it's Mr. Driscoll's witness.
It doesn't matter to me. Whoever's got the.
I'll go forward, Your Honor. I'll go forward if the court doesn't mind.
Go ahead, Mr. Driscoll.
Mr. Hyatt, where do you reside at?
I reside in Hayes, Kansas.
Who resides with you at that residence?
My wife, Abby Good Hyatt, my son, Peter Hyatt, and my daughter, Elizabeth Lee Hyatt.
And are you employed?
I am.
How are you employed?
It is part-time as needed by the University of the Cumberlands in Kentucky.
It's my understanding that would you state your educational background to the court, please?
I have a doctoral degree.
You graduate from high school?
I did.
Where'd you go to high school at?
In Eureka, Nevada.
And did you graduate from high school there?
I did.
Did you receive a BS degree from any college?
I did. Southern
Where did you-
Utah University.
And do you have just one undergraduate degree?
Yes,
And did you subsequently get a master's degree?
I did get a master's.
Where did you get your master's degree at?
Fort Hays State University.
And did you get a doctorate degree?
Yes,
What's the doctorate degree in and where's it from?
it is in Information Systems Management and is from Walden University.
You've provided your worksheets in this matter indicating that you have an income and have had an income the last few years of $37,059. Is that an accurate representation of your employment, your gross income?
That should be, yes.
And your income sources are from where?
Income sources that I would have are from University of the Cumberlands and from the University of Arizona Global Campus.
You indicated that your employment is part-time. What do you do the other rest of the time?
I do the other part-time
You have
when available.
one part-time position with University of Cumberland.
I do.
And how many students do you currently have?
My very last class, I only taught 6 students.
And do you go by terms or semesters, or what's your determination as to what your pay is going to be as far as teaching that classes?
It varies. It's either it would be 8-week or 16-week.
Where is the University of Cumberland located at?
It is in Kentucky. I can't remember the name of the town at the moment.
This last year from 2024, how many classes did you teach? 2024, how many classes did you teach?
In this year, I have taught 3.
And are you paid at the end of each teaching period?
Yes,
And how much are you paid per period?
it depends on the students.
You get a contract with them before you begin starting the classes?
I do.
You have copies of those contracts?
Yeah, I'm sure I do, yes.
Those are documents you could probably provide to us. The 3 contracts you'd have for 2024, is that correct?
Yes,
You're telling us that those 3 contracts would total the sum of $37,059?
I didn't say that.
I'm
It
asking you,
depends on the
that's,
students it depends on the students that I have. It is broken down into brackets. Students, if you have 5 or less, and I believe the other benchmark is at 20 and then at 40, but I can't say for sure where those benchmarks are under oath.
your worksheet provides us with an indication that your income is $37,059. And then my question to you, is that the amount of income you've received so far in 2024?
I don't believe 2024 is over. So
How much income have you received from January 1, 2024 through September 1st, 2024?
I
8
couldn't
months.
tell you exactly,
More
especially
than-
with this large chunk that was taken out with being small classes.
Do you have that documentation that you can provide to us that we could examine to see what your income is, sir?
I can provide the documentations that show the breakdown of the classes, but I am not certain if by law I can provide student information.
I'm not asking for any information pertaining to the students. I'm asking for the amount of income you receive from your employer. Can you
I can provide
provide,
that.
can you provide that documentation?
Yes,
Provide that to us in the next couple weeks?
should be able to, yes.
You know whether that information would be more or less than $3,088 a month?
Most likely less.
But you have no indication, is that correct?
Pardon?
You can't give this court an idea as to what your monthly income is.
I get paid at an 8-week interval or a 16-week interval. If you were to take that, you would have to properly allocate it from a monthly, which would be a 12 annual rate. That's why we also pay for taxes at an annual rate.
I'm asking you to provide me with the amount of income you've received from your employer from January 1, 2024 through the end of August or September 1st, 2024. Can you provide that information?
Of course, I just said, I told you earlier, I would provide that within, how long would you like? 2 weeks?
Got it tomorrow?
Judge, I mean, this is really discovery, not the trial-based questioning.
Well, Your Honor, the documentation shows in exhibits 1, 2, and 3 that his income was $37,059 on each one of these respondents' exhibits, when his testimony is that there may or may not be, and he can't provide us with the documentation supporting that. That's the concern that I have. And I just want to see what amount of payments somebody with a doctorate degree is receiving for teaching. That's what I would like to see. If he can provide that in a week, that's fine. If he can provide it tomorrow, that's fine too. I'd just like to have that documentation to verify what that is and compared to these exhibits
So documentation from the beginning of the year, is that correct?
from January 1, 2024
Okay.
through August 31st, 2024. Are you teaching a class now that you are going to be receiving payment for?
I will be receiving payment in 14 weeks.
Well, if you anticipate receiving payment, we'd like to have that documentation too.
We have students that drop out.
Well, I'm assuming initially you start with a number of students that your salary would be based on. Is that correct?
It varies based upon the allocation of students per pay. Yes.
You can provide me with the documentation as to how your salary is calculated. That would be helpful, sir.
I believe I would have to make sure it's okay with my attorney that meets federal guidelines for a higher ed education institution.
Asking you for, I'm not asking for any student information. I'm not asking for anything. I'm asking you for your contract with your employer, Cumberland, the Cumberland State or Cumberland University. That's what I'm asking for, and the amount and how you calculate how you're being paid for it. That's the only thing I want.
All right.
Once we receive that information, Your Honor, it should be simple to put together a worksheet.
Well, Mr. Driscoll, you indicated all you wanted to hear was him swear that was his income, and then you were willing to go forward with the income amounts on the worksheets at this time.
Not willing to go forward until he provides the documentation, Your Honor. Because he's indicated that the amount is not $37,059 for the last exhibits 1, 2, and 3. He's not sure what they were.
And you're referring to exhibits 1, 2, and 3, and I'm not sure
There aren't any. Wait, that's what I sent to council for settlement.
that I have access to 1, 2, or 3, so I don't know what you're referring to. But
Wait, Mr. Hyatt, are you testifying today that you're unsure whether your income is $37,059?
My income is as stated in the annual taxes that I pay. It does vary. Yes, it varies year to year, course to course.
You know, we'd like to have a hearing set, I guess, once we get the information, we'll be able to determine whether or not we could accept his income figures.
Mr. Schwartz.
Question the witness, Your Honor. Is that
Yes.
Mr. Hyatt? You were requested to provide your 2023 W-2s and tax return. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you did that, correct?
Correct.
And you have 3 W-2s from 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
Or I said 22. I meant 2023. Is that correct?
Correct.
You have one from the University of Arizona that reflects total wages of $7,793.70. Correct?
Correct.
You have another from the University of Arizona that reflects total income of $11,456.55. Is that correct? And you have another from the University of the Cumberlands that reflects a total compensation of $17,800.
Correct.
And so those combined is how we arrived at your 37,000 and change of income.
Correct.
Let me just make sure the math is, and actually the total is $37,050, not $37,059. So actually your income as stated on the worksheet is $9 overstated. Is that correct? Or do you have any, you don't have a calculator there, do you?
I don't.
Okay. But if I tell you that amount, adding those 3 together is $37,050, that sound about right to you?
Yes, that does.
And that's how you arrived at the income that was utilized on the child support worksheets we submitted to Ms. Grabby and Mr. Driscoll. Is that right?
Yes.
No further questions.
Ms. Grabby, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor, I don't have any questions.
Do you have any redirect, Mr. Driscoll?
Mr. Hyatt, the amount you have stated in your W-2 2023 income, is that all the income you received in 2023?
That is all.
Don't have any other cash jobs or
If you want to pay me more, I'd be glad to take it.
Mr. Hyatt, please just listen to the questions, answer the questions, okay? Go ahead, Mr. Driscoll.
do you have any documentation supporting your 2024 income?
Yes.
And that's documentation you can get to your counsel within a week or so?
Yes.
You have no idea whether that income for 2024 would be higher or lower than the amount you have stated on your worksheet now of 37,000.
Lower.
And it'd be beneficial for you to provide that documentation then, wouldn't it?
Perhaps.
I have nothing further.
Recross, Mr. Schwartz. Recross, Ms. Grabby. Okay. Any additional witness, Mr. Driscoll?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, at this time, his income is $37,050. But if he's going to provide those contracts, but I don't know that that's going to be real helpful to you, Mr. Driscoll, because it's not going to determine what he actually gets paid at the end of the semester. At the end of the semester, he'll get paid. He'll turn in his W-2s for the 24 tax year. He's required to provide that to Mr. Driscoll through his attorney, Mr. Schwartz. Copy to Miss Gravy, so we can look at the full income. Miss Ellison is also required to provide her information from 24 income. Then the parties can determine whether or not we've had a material change of circumstance as it pertains to income. But we have her income, we have his income. We know that there's no dispute regarding the other, so can we prepare the worksheet, Mr. Schwartz?
I think we can. I don't know of any. I think the only issue is that maintenance number, which we all agree was not in there correctly. So I think that we'll need to, we'll have to adjust any numbers based on those. And but I think that's all just the worksheet will do that. So I don't see any reason why we can't.
Ms. Gravy?
Completely agree, Your Honor. I think, especially 2023, the only thing we need to remove is the maintenance if we have an income determination for 23. And we can probably submit those and then whatever we need to do with 24.
You got those pulled up in Bradley yet?
I do, but the problem is 23, you got to go back and use the 23 version of the software because the child support numbers increased in 24. So we'll have to do a worksheet from January 1 to December 31 for 23. We'll have to do one from January 1 through May 31st because the work-related childcare costs terminated at that point. So those would need to come out, and then we would have one from May going forward.
Okay.
And I can get all those prepared, but I don't have them right now.
Okay. How long will it take you to submit those to council?
I think we can get them done. I'll try and get them all prepared after the hearing, and then hopefully get them out in the next couple of days here with the proposed order.
And obviously, Mr. Driscoll, once you have those, if you believe you can prove a significant change in income, then you file your motion.
Well, Your Honor, we still like to get, if we can do it without a discovery order, copies of the contracts that Mr. Hyatt has for 2024. This income is based on his 23 income. I think it'd be relevant to have this 24 income, or as much as he can provide at this time.
Well, hers is also based on the 23 income because 24 is not done yet. We don't know what the 24 income is just yet. So
we could calculate a monthly income from January through August.
The only concern we have with that, Judge, is when you're getting paid on a contractual basis, it's not like he gets paid a monthly amount. It's based on what he's received to date. And then, I guess it'll be even lower than this. So it would actually drive his down.
it's speculative until the end of the semester when he gets paid. So what we have for solid numbers is the 2023 income. That's what we'll use. Okay. Anything further today, Mr. Driscoll?
I have nothing further.
Anything further today, Mr. Schwartz?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further today, Ms. Gravy?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Schwartz, prepare those worksheets and the proposed order and circulate it to council. Okay?
Okay.
If we run into an issue, notice it back up.
We will.
Okay?